Growing takes time. Ranch Systems has the tools to help you quickly get the information you need so you can get on with your day. Check your water, crop status, and weather from real sensors in your field. To learn more, contact us today.
Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with California Ag Network, reporting to you from the annual conference of the California Fresh Fruit Association down in Southern California this year. One of the keynote speakers of this event was Ron Barsamian. He is an ag, labor, and employment attorney. And, I mean, you have a history in farming, too. I heard you grew up on a farm.
Yep.
And so I wanted to speak with you. You've been helping farmers for many, many years avoid conflict or
Or
stardom. Having a lot of trouble with labor law, right? Farmers have to deal with that pretty regularly, and so and things are always changing.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate your help and support for farmers in agriculture, specifically dealing with meal periods for agricultural employers. There's been some recent litigations, and wanted to talk with you specifically about how farmers, based on some of these litigations, can avoid getting into trouble. What's your best advice to them regarding taking their meal breaks?
Well, first thing is the meal breaks are like a door being opened for a lot of the Class Action and PAGA, Private Attorney General Act lawsuits that farmers get. The reason meal periods are targeted is it's an area where record keeping is difficult from time to time. There's a lot of variances between crew leaders, a lot of difficulties with meal breaks due to heat, illness, restrictions on how long folks can work. But the biggest problems we see on the paperwork side is the need for training on filling out timesheets and waiting until the very end of the fourth hour being finished to take the meal break. People are cutting it way too close. And they have to understand that when you have a meal break violation, not only are you getting hit for the penalties for the meal break, but if it hasn't been paid by the end of the season, you can get hit up with up to 30 days of full day's pay as a penalty on top of it. So it's an opening door to class actions. It's very expensive penalty-wise, and it's something that can be fixed. It just takes training. Paperwork shouldn't be the last thing that the crew leaders think of. It needs to be the first thing they think of.
And that's tough because often they're out in orchards, vineyards, whatever, out in the elements. It's, you got a clipboard or something, and people want to get right to work. They don't necessarily want to go and sign in or do what they need to do.
I tell people all the time, I think growing up in farming, I could say this, I think the toughest job out there is being a crew leader. You've got many masters. You're being told to get the work done. Mm-hmm. You're being told to get it done correctly. The workers have issues that they want to address. Either they need to come in late or leave early or what have you. You've got to watch everybody's health and safety under OSHA regs and under heat stress when you're harvesting in the summertime. And at the same time, be a human relations expert. Crew leader, like I said, it's one of the toughest jobs out there, if not the toughest.
And then you mentioned that the farm workers often want to take their meals later on, as late as possible, because it gets warmer and warmer in the day, and naturally they want to take that break when it's hottest, right?
Unfortunately, the farm workers aren't the law. Even as much as we might agree with when they might want to take it, we can't violate the law. And they know they're going to have their hours of work restricted because of heat. And sometimes they want to waive the meal period, especially if they're on piece rate. And anymore, you just can't do it. You just can't. The safety of the farm workers has to be primary. The record keeping has to be done correctly. It's not a democracy out there, unfortunately. It's all dictated by the law.
What is your best advice for those crew leaders? I guess as farmers, we need to make sure that those crew leaders are well trained so that they're prioritizing those things.
Paperwork's essential. That's what we were talking about today. I mean, all the other items are just as essential, knowing the safety rules, looking out for indications of heat stress, all those things. Today, our focus was on paperwork. And a lot of times that is a secondary item on everybody's agenda, and it needs to be number one.
Because that paperwork, right, you said can be used against the farmers in a court of law. So what needs to be on that paperwork specifically for meal periods?
That paperwork is the evidence against the farmers in a class action. You need to have start and stop times, not just hash marks as if everybody started at the same time every day. That's just not realistic. People come in late, they leave early, they got to pick up their kids, what have you. Meal and rest breaks even have to be shown, the start times whenever piece rate is being paid for the rest breaks. And the meal breaks have to be before the 5th hour of work, not 5:01, not 5:02, the 5th hour of work. So we're trying to get people to start a little earlier on being released for meal breaks. But the timesheets need to be correct. It can't be shortcuts like everybody took a meal break and write that off in the column. You got to have the start and stop times.
Well, hey, thank you for looking out for the best interests of our farmers and keep them farming. Appreciate your good work. Read more about these things in our publications. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.